The first one is ethos. Pathos. Pathos is sharing personal stories to connect with your audience. Logos. Logos is the logic and reason. And the last one is curious, which is timing.
What is paying my audience a compliment? What should I practice to sound more persuasive?
Hello everyone, welcome to the episode of the public speaking series, where today we're gonna go deep into the speeches. You can already speak confidently, you can effectively deliver your speech, and today we're gonna go deep into this type of speeches, knowing how you can prepare for them so you can effectively deliver your speech. Alright, so in public speaking, we have so many different speeches. We can speak confidently, we can effectively deliver our speech, but in order for us to do it nicely, we have to know which speech are we giving. That is why for the first thing we're going to learn today is what's called an impromptu speech. Now what is an impromptu speech? Well, basically an impromptu speech is a speech that they give you, and they give you like 20 minutes to prepare it. It's a speech that wasn't given to you in advance, and it's like a surprise speech. It's when you, for example, at school that day in the morning, and they come to you and they're like, all right, we have this and this going on, and we need you to prepare a speech that you're gonna give around lunchtime. That is an impromptu speech. And you're like, okay, how am I gonna prepare for this? And that's what we're gonna look at first. How to prepare for our impromptu speech. About impromptu that you should understand the purpose of your audience. Now we have this situation going on, it's in the morning, I have classes. When am I gonna get time to prepare for this? Well, at break time. Why am I gonna do at break time? Because I didn't get enough time to do my research. I don't know what my speech is about. The first thing you need to do is understand the purpose and your audience. Is your speech aimed to inform? Is your speech aimed to persuade? Is your speech aimed to entertain? Or is it to inspire? Those are one of the first things you should look at to know, okay, now that I know that I'm gonna talk about this, then I should head to this. So we need to know if our speech is to inform, to persuade, to entertain, or to inspire. And we need our speech to resonate with our audience. If, for example, I'm talking to adults, I'm not going to bring something that clearly doesn't interest them. And if I'm talking to kids, nursery kids, I'm not going to bring something really boring that is not going to entertain them because they're not going to listen. That is one of our first points, which is to understand the purpose and the audience. Okay, for a second point is to brainstorm key points. Brainstorming is basically, if my topic is on a given subject, now I'm gonna brainstorm 2 to 3 points, because if you give a lot, then you're not gonna remember, especially since it's impromptu, it's not prepared. So you need to brainstorm your key points. Here you quickly draw out your main ideas. Okay, If I'm talking about, for example, let's say my topic is on social media, and today, like in nowadays, how is social media evaluating? How is social media doing to teenagers, to adults, to kids? And I'm gonna be like, all right, so I'm gonna base on my key points. Let's say here I want to talk about the negative side of this. What is negative side? And then you can say, okay, the first thing is, for example, distraction. There is addiction. There is this and this. You quickly jot out your key points. So 3 to 4, so you cannot forget. Then again, for an impromptu speech, one of the key things that you need to remember is you need to remember your personal stories. When you include your personal stories, this makes your audience feel connected to you. Imagine you're gonna listen to a person talk about something, and basically all they're doing is just talking. The moment you add that personal thing of your like, actually one day, I was going to wake up at 5 a.m. But because of this and this, I didn't. Whenever you put one of your personal stories, then it is nice. But remember, your personal stories needs to be related to the impromptu speech, to what you're saying. If I am talking about social media and the way it's addicting, then one of my stories has to be related to me also facing that problem. Like, for example, not being able to sleep at night because I'm scrolling on TikTok. Whenever you say this, so many people are going to relate to you because it is true. We all have been there once. We're not able to sleep because we're scrolling on social media. Whenever you include your personal stories, make sure that they're relatable and memorable. And the next thing you need to do is organize your speech. In organizing your speech, we're talking about 3 main things. We're talking about your intro, we're talking about the body, and we are talking about your conclusion. So, in your introduction, make sure you start with an attention grabber. Something that is gonna intrigue your audience to actually want to know what you're talking about. So that grabs the attention of the audience, and they're like, oh, I want to know what this person is going to say next. I want to know what is next. I want to know what is this and this. In the body, this is where now you're going to put all your key points. You briefly explain them and you talk about them fully. If you did, let's say, 3 points, you're going to explain each one with details, with statistics, with examples, and here is mostly where you can also include your personal stories when you're talking. And for conclusion, summarize what you just said in really brief words. Say something, summarize what you just said, and it has to be a memorable closing. So here it means when you're finishing, say something powerful. You can finish with a quote. You can finish with a question. You can finish with something to make them laugh. It has to be memorable in order for the audience to remember it. And then here, there is practice freestyle speaking. Now, practice freestyle speaking. What is this? Practicing freestyle speaking is basically when you just sit somewhere and feel like you need to talk. And this improves your ability to think on your feet. Whenever you freestyle speak, this is, for example, let's say you have a bunch of subject given, and I give you, okay, come here up and talk about social media. You immediately have to start speaking so that it improves your critical thinking and you can think on the spot, because this is going to improve your impromptu skill.
Can an impromptu speech be informative?
Yes, your impromptu speech can be informative, which leads us back to our first point, which is understanding the purpose and the audience. Here you have to ask yourself, is my speech gonna be persuasive, informative, entertaining, or inspiring? It can also be all of it at the same time. It can be to inform about something, but as I'm informing them about something, I'm trying to persuade them to do something else. As I'm persuading them, I can add in some humor, some jokes. And again, it's also to inspire these people to take action on something. It can be on anything, as long as you remember your main point, your main message, and don't beat around the bush. Let's continue. We're talking about practicing freestyle speaking. This means that this is what you should do: set a timer and give yourself a challenge and be like, I'm going to talk about this topic in 5 minutes. And you talk. You can do this alone. You can take any filming gadget, your camera, you can take a phone, you can take an iPad, you can take your computer, and film yourself. practice freestyle speaking. This improves your ability to think on your feet so that when they give you an impromptu speech, like out of the blue, you can quickly go back to the second point and be like, okay, let me start brainstorming my key points. Yes?
I'm so stressed when I impromptu speech, so I don't practice.
That's what's wrong. Practice freestyle speaking. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't need necessarily, you don't need to do this with a big crowd. Even alone, you can do it. You can do it and be like, okay, I'm gonna talk about this as if I'm giving a raw speech and be like, hello everybody, I'm gonna give a speech on this and then this. Basically, you practice. Next point is to focus on clarity and confidence. Clarity, your voice needs to be clear, what you say needs to be clear, your volume and the pronunciation. You need to sound fluent. You need to sound confident. Because even the way you say things influences something. So for example, if I'm talking about something, I go, focus on clarity and confidence. It is going to help you. That doesn't give you any engagement. You're like, is this person doing it because they like it? Or are they doing it because what basically they force them to do it? So basically, be confident with what you say and the things that you're saying have to be qualified. And the last one on an impromptu speech is be mindful of the time. Most of these, whenever they give you I don't think they do this in schools, but most of the times when you're, for example, at a public speaking camp, you're anywhere else, they might give you a time and they're like, your speech needs to be maximum or minimum 5 minutes long. That's it. So here you have to be mindful of time, which brings me back to my point of freestyle speaking. You can be like, set, and you talk for 5 minutes and make sure that every single thing you want to say fits in 5 minutes so that you can speak confidently. And also this point brings me back to one of the first episodes where I brought on basically as you're practicing and self-practice in the mirror to avoid anxiety, to make you feel more prepared, because it also helps. So this is for an impromptu speech. Whenever you're given a speech that was out of the blue, this is all the things that you need to know and your speech will be like you prepared it. Now we're going to go for the second speech, which is an informative speech. The second type of speech that we have is an informative speech. What is an informative speech? An informative speech is a type of presentation that aims to educate and inform the audience about a specific topic, content, event, or idea. The primary objective of an informative speech is to provide the audience with new knowledge, insights, or understanding about the subject matter. Instead, it focuses on presenting factual information in a clear, objective, and engaging manner. In simple terms, because it was a very long definition, it's aimed to inform you about something that you didn't know, something that your audience probably wasn't aware of, something that you would like your audience to know, and something that really this will be like, okay, my audience needs to know about this. This is a problem in the society. This is this and this. This is crucial to learn at this age that my peers are in, or anything like that. That is where an informative speech is. Now, let us look at to the structure of an informative speech. We're gonna look at first of all the introduction. For the introduction, the first thing you need to do is the attention getter. It is so important. You're gonna listen to this to any other speech you're gonna look in this video because it sparks your curiosity or interest in what you're gonna say. Whenever you start with an attention getter, it is already the audience like, oh, okay, you have my attention. Imagine somebody coming in front and starting their speech, as we saw in the last video of the public speaking series, with the worst speech openers. You're not gonna get it. That's not an attention getter. The moment you fail the introduction, then just know it's done. An example of an attention getter you can do is you can use what we call rhetorical question. A question that you ask that doesn't need an answer. You can be, for example, do you ever sit at the end of the day and wonder what you did all day except scroll on TikTok? Yeah, we all been there. If somebody starts their speech like that, aren't you intrigued? They already have what's in where there is a personal situation. Because we've all have been where we did nothing but scroll on TikTok. I'm not gonna lie, all of us, right? Right? We've all been there. It's not denying. And whenever you start with something like that, especially something that is so relatable, it gains the attention of the audience, and the audience is more like, alright, I want to listen to what you're saying more. And the next thing you need to do is your relevant statement. Explain why your topic is relevant. Why does your audience need to care about this? If I'm talking about social media, let's go back. Do you ever wonder what you did all day except scroll on TikTok? Yeah, we've all been there. This is a problem to the society and it needs to be fixed because teenagers are addicted, we have no sleep, we are failing classes, all because we don't know how to manage social media, and it is a real problem in the society. If somebody starts like that, be like, okay, then I want to listen to what this person is talking about. That is why you need to say something that is going to grab the attention of the audience. And in here, you know what you can do? You can put in statistics. I'm not sure if this is right, but I can say 70% of this is happening to the world. Oh, okay. I don't know, that's not a real statistic, but it is something to show that, okay, yeah, we really should care about this because she just gave us facts about this. She just gave us a quote about this. She just gave us why should we really care about what you're talking about. And the third thing you need to do in the introduction is the thesis statement. The thesis statement is you have to clearly state the main topic. What are you going to talk about? If I'm talking about social media, there's so many things I can talk about it. But what's the central message? What is something that I'm trying to make you all hear? What is the main key? Okay, in summary, this is what I wanted to say. As you say in your introduction, you have to say something that relates to the central message. Like your main something that you really want your audience to grab.
Do you always have to be serious in an informative speech?
Okay, because it is an informative and you try to inform people, you don't always have to be serious because an informative speech, again, if somebody is dull and doesn't show any emotion, then well, that isn't going to work. But you can be talking about a really serious topic that needs to be said. For example, drugs. That is so serious, and we really need people to get to know about this topic. Of course, I have to be serious in this one, but again, I don't want to sound as if I'm bragging about. I don't want to sound as if I'm just here and sounding dull because it's too serious. Be serious, but again, add in some jokes, add in some humor. Be yourself again. Go back to the first episode and watch it. Yeah, you don't always have to be serious, but again, it's a serious topic because you're trying to inform, so yeah, you have to add in some seriousness. Now let's go to the body of an informative speech. But before we go to the body of an informative speech, I'd like to show you how an introduction would look like. today I'm gonna be talking about, this is not how it starts, but it's gonna start like this. Okay, my topic is social media and teenagers. This is how I would start my speech with everything I just said. Do you ever sit at the end of the day and wonder what you did all day except scroll TikTok? Yeah, we've all been there, including me. Well, this is such a big problem in society. We teenagers, even adults, do not sleep at night because we scroll on TikTok, watching the new trends. We do not follow in class anymore because at the back of our heads, we're thinking, oh, what if something happens to social media? We have FOMO, the fear of missing out. All of because we think if we are not on Instagram, if we're not on TikTok, we're missing out on a huge part of our life. And personally, I think this needs to be addressed. Really want to solve this in the society. The thing that needs to be talked about the most is how we can overcome this. I believe social media is not bad because I use it. Everybody uses it. It has so many positive things, but again, the negative things seem to be more. Well, we need to talk about the way we have to know how to use social media nicely, to know the way we can use it without having any problem that has come with addiction, that has to come with FOMO. We need to know how to control ourselves, and that's what we're gonna be talking about in my speech. If you look at this introduction, you're intrigued. Okay, we've got the attention grabber, we've got my relevant statement. I've stated why this is a problem in the society, and there is my main point, which is to know how to minimize social media hours that we spend on all of that. So if you are to give an informative speech, these three things are the key. Don't go anywhere else and look at this. And again, we've stated some things you could use. Here we say you could use rhetorical question. You can start by a quote. You can say, for example, if I would start by a quote, I would say, better be safe than sorry. A common quote we all say. So why are drugs so used when actually they're not safe? You feel it? So basically, this means that whenever you get the attention getter, you can start with a rhetorical question, you can start with a quote, you can start with anything, with facts, with a statistic. All of this will get the attention of your audience in order for you to keep going on. The first thing we need to tackle here is the main point. We need to know what is our main point to support our central message. So in the example we're giving, formally, our central message is knowing how to control ourselves on social media. What are the points that I can give that can support this? I can, for example, give the way we spend so much time on social media. Like if you go and look up your screen time, it's literally like 10 hours, 7 hours. So if I say that in my body, it is obviously supporting my central message of, oh, that's right. We need to actually know how to use social media properly. So give 2, 3, 4 points that they when you think about them deeply, they go back to your central key message. Yes?
Should I give many points to sound like I know my research?
This is a common mistake we all think. Giving so many points is gonna make us sound more confident, more fluent. Well, no, you don't need to. You don't need to give like 10 points to make you sound like you did your research. Even 3 are enough, as long as these 3 have these main things. Supportive details. If 1 or 2 or 3 of your ideas have supportive details like evidence, examples, statistics, then you do not need 10 more. You obviously do not. If I'm talking about evidence, I can say these are some things you can say. You can say a recent study found that this and these students sleep in class because they spend the night on social media. That is your evidence. Examples. You can use your personal examples and be like, I remember one day I had an exam and I cannot tell you, I slept at 2 in the morning. Yep, it's not responsible of me. That is an example that is supporting one of your main points. If your main point was addiction, then if I give that example that I just gave, how is it gonna feel? It's gonna feel like, oh, okay, I get what you're saying. Instead of saying 10 more, just saying addiction. People are addicted. Distraction. We do not follow in class. Third point. Are you gonna get it? No. So here you need to have this supportive data and statistics. And now the next thing we're gonna be tackling in the body is our logical flow. Our our logic of, we need to sound clear and coherent sequence, and we have to have logical connection. So this basically means my first point needs to be going to the second point. My second point will lead me to the third point, like that, like that, like that. So basically use logical connection. If I start with the third point, that the second point was supposed to lead me on, I go to the third point, then I go to the second point, I'll be like, miss, did you prepare your speech? So whenever you're giving a speech, even in daily life, make sure that one point leads to another point. If the first point is addiction, then addiction can lead to distraction, or it's distraction which leads to addiction, something like that, in order for it to have logical flow. The conclusion, the last and final part. It might sound easy, but there's some things you need to tackle in the conclusion. Did you know? The first thing that you need to do is do a recap of everything you just said. A recap of your main points. Like, I talked about this. You do a small recap. It doesn't need to be that. Then you need to appeal for action. Any type of speech, impromptu, informative, and the persuasive one, you're gonna look after this, you need to appeal for action. If our topic is still on social media, then what is the action I'm gonna appeal for? I can sit and say, dear my fellow peers, let us stop using social media a lot. Let us actually control ourselves. Let us give social media a part of our time, but not the whole day. Appeal for action, basically. You tell them something they should do to make a difference to what you just said. The next thing that you need to do is connect back to the attentional grabber. My attentional grabber was spending the whole day on social media, on TikTok. Now, the way I'm going to connect back to this, I'm going to be like, okay, yeah, we tend to do this a lot. What can I do to stop actually spending all my time on TikTok? Number one, I can start by doing a to-do list. That is all these things that you need to do in the conclusion. Yes, please?
What is paying my audience a compliment?
You can do this, it's a choice, but most of the time, pay them and be like, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for giving me this. Thank you for listening to me. I thank all of you for have came and gathered here to listen to what I had to say. That is paying the audience a sincere compliment. And now let's look at an example of a powerful conclusion. If I was to talk about a conclusion, I would go and be like, all right, we all know that social media is destructive. We've seen the way it's addicting. We've seen the way it has so much distraction. We've seen the way it can even cause us some eye injury, for example, because of staying on the screen for too long. Well, let us stop doing this. Let us actually go outside and get fresh air. What happened to riding bikes? What happened to going for a walk? What happened to going around and running? We should get back to that. That is appealing for action, connecting back. Well, of course, some of the days we're gonna be all day on TikTok. We're gonna scroll, and when we go to bed, we're gonna be like, okay, what is one thing that I did that actually was productive apart from maybe taking a shower, something like that. You connect back to the attentional grabber by appealing for action too, and you can be like, let us change this. Let us actually learn how to control ourselves. Let us make a to-do list and know, okay, if this time is for TikTok, then I go on TikTok. And when the time stops, I do another thing that doesn't relate to social media. Thank you so much, all of you, for have gathered here and listened to something I had to say. Goodbye. That is what you could say. Alright, you guys, now for the third and final speech we're gonna look in today's video is the persuasive speech. A speech, this is the, in my personal opinion, this is the one that I like the most because I just love its structure. So let's look at it. Let's look at the introduction. Main thing, first of all, is the attentional getter. We already saw that, already explained that in the informative speech. Something to grab the attention, the attention of the audience. You can start with a quote, you can start with a rhetorical question. We are from looking at that. Then the background. All right, this is new. The background is basically you need to give some context on what you're talking about so that the audience understands the seriousness, or they understand the topic more, to know where is this, why am I in general talking about this, and I give some context on what I was saying, the background, some background info for them to clearly not be like, okay, now I know where this is going, I know where this is coming from. And last but not least, the thesis statement. What is your main argument? This applies to also the persuasive speech. So if I was to start a persuasive speech, I would be like, okay, I give my attention getter. If now we're talking about, can somebody give me a subject? Do you have any subject that you guys want me to talk about? Do you have any subjects? It's all right. But basically, you guys understand the topic of attention getter, the background, on the context. On the background, basically, all you can talk about, if I'm trying to persuade you, for example, let me say to get into dance. That's one new topic, dance. If I'm trying to say dance, I can start with some background context. Actually, dance is one of the main ways of expressing yourself, and most people basically give some background info. Then the thesis statement, which is the main argument. Now we're going to the problem. You also have to say the problem in the introduction. You have to identify the problem, define the issue, and make sure that your audience actually understands what's the issue in this. If you're looking at this, it's almost as similar as the informative speech. It is. So I define the issue. What is my issue with what I'm talking about? If I'm just talking about social media and I'm trying to persuade these people on something that way social media is, that has some of its bad sides, but this and this and that, I'm gonna define the issue. What is my issue in my speech? What is the main thing that we need to tackle? And I make sure that you guys understand the issue, because I cannot just come and be like, well, social media is addicting, and yeah, it is addicting. Okay, I bet the audience did not even understand anything. They did not understand if it is addicting. Then where's the problem with that? I mean, addicting, all right, what does it make us not do? What does it basically identify the issue, make sure that the audience understand the issue. And if you do this in the introduction, it's gonna make them want to be like, okay, let's see what you have to say in the body. The most, not difficult, but the most something I need to focus more on the persuasive speech is the body, because all of this is in the body, trust me. The first thing is the cause and effects. You have to give the cause of your problems. If I'm talking about, for example, social media and teenagers, I'll say, why is it intriguing? Why is it bad? I'll say why the problem exists. Why does this exist? Why does the problem exist in the first place? Then I will give the effects and highlight the harms associated with not solving the issue. This is one of the main things you have to do in the body. You have to say, what are the causes of this? If I'm talking about drugs, I'm saying, why do drugs actually happen? Why are they a big deal? Yes?
What should I practice to sound more persuasive?
It goes back to what we think about impromptu, which is practicing freestyle speaking. And to sound more persuasive, you need the 4 modes of persuasion. The first one is ethos. Ethos is the credibility to convince the audience. It has a lot to do with your character. Pathos. Pathos is sharing personal stories to connect with your audience, which also deals with emotions. If what I'm talking about is sad, I need to sound and look sad. If what I'm talking about is happy, I need to sound and look happy. If what I'm saying actually, you have to use emotions to connect with your audience, because you cannot just be dull the whole time and expect your audience to be like, yay, you did something. Have some pathos. Then logos. Logos is the logic and reason, meaning you have to use the evidence, the statistics, the facts to convince the audience. Yeah, and the last one is curious, which is timing. You have to be mindful of the time. Most of the thing when you're giving a speech, if it's on actually an event that you're going to when you're giving a speech, most of the time they say 5 minutes max, I think. So you have to make sure of the curious. And again, one thing that I added here is the tone. You have to make sure that your tone is actually clear, visible, and your volume. So that's what you have to do if you want to sound more persuasive, is follow these 4 modes of persuasion. The ethos, which has to do with your character and the credibility, the pathos, to have emotion so that you can connect with your audience and share personal stories. Logos, the use of evidence, statistics, facts, basically using logic and reason. Curious, the timing, and again, you can also look at the tone. Now, let us look at to the solution. As I'm talking about the cause, why do drugs? Why are drugs happening? What is the main cause of this? What is their effects? What are the effects, or what are the negative effects of these drugs? After I said all of this, using the mode of persuasion, I will come back and go to the solution. What is my solution? Because I'm trying to persuade people out here. I'm not trying to basically sound out. I'm persuading people to change something. Is to present your solution, giving a reasonable and feasible solution. Feasible? What is the meaning of feasible? Feasible solution is something that can be done, something that it's not even that hard to accomplish, something that you can say to these people and they're like, yeah, I can also take part in changing. If I'm talking about an environmental problem, if I'm saying something that is bad to the environment, I have to say a feasible solution that we can all participate in to actually solve. And for the solution, again, you need to address the counter arguments. Counter arguments are basically, if I say something and basically the opposite of it. If I'm saying, for example, I can say, well, if one of my solutions to social media might be, let us try to use 2 hours of computer leisure time, as I like to call it. Some counter arguments might be like, well, what if my work asks me to stay on the camp? That is totally understandable. And what if you have nothing to do? What if you don't have to do this? Make sure that you take account of this, because it's gonna sound like you're more reasonable for you saying. If I'm saying one of the solutions to one of our social media problem, let us, for example, try to, I can say, not use our phones past 8 p.m. and you're like, the counter argument might be like, well, what if my work finishes at 9? What if I have to do something at 10? What if I'm a content creator, I have so many things to do and they ask me to stay on the camp the whole day? Well, if you want to do this, make sure that you take 10 minutes break at least to go outside and have some fresh air. Here you're addressing counter arguments by refuting them with evidence and logical reason. Make sure if it is something that is basically opposite of what you're saying, refute it. Be like you're in a debate, not sounding aggressive at all, but make sure you take account of it and go back to it and be like, well, I know some of you might be wondering, how can we stop social media? It's impossible. We are on social media these days. Every single person is on social media. So if you're telling me not to spend the whole day without it, I don't know what to tell you. That is a counter argument, but you need to refute it with evidence and logical reason. After the solution, you need to say the benefits. Number one thing is highlight them. Basically, you explain the positive outcomes and advantages of implementing your solution. If our solution was 2 hours of computer leisure time, you can say, with this, you have so many much more things to do. You can go on a walk, you can go outside and play, you can go somewhere and actually see the way nature is beautiful, because it still is. We do not have to forget about nature. Appeal to emotions. Use emotional appeals to connect with your audience on a personal level and motivate them to support your solution. By this, it means if you're really actually meaning for your audience to understand what you're saying, mean it, look like you actually meaning it. Don't be dull. If I am saying and I want to persuade you to this, I should use some persuasive, use some ethos, logos, pathos, all of them to appeal to emotion, so that you can connect with your audience emotionally and they can actually support your solution. And when after the end of your speech, they can stay with that in the mind. And lastly, call to action or inspire to action. Encourage your audience to take action based on what you just said. If it is, for example, not spending too much time on social media, tell them, appeal to action, tell them to do this every day, to try this every day. Of course, it's not going to be easy and not every time are you going to be on point, but at least call to action, call them to do something. And lastly is the conclusion, where you summarize all your key points, give a memorable closing, a remark, and don't forget to do all the things you say in the formative speech. Basically appeal to action, which was already done in the benefits, so you don't need to do it again in the conclusion. You can pay the audience a sincere compliment at the end and say, thank you so much for gathering here and listening to what I had to say. And that's all they had to do for the persuasive speech. Okay, now let's do a little quick rundown on the components of each of the speech features. So on impromptu, there are the purpose and the audience, the brainstorming of your key points, personal examples, organization, the delivery of your speech, clarity and coherence, time management. For an informative speech, there you need your content, the delivery of your speech. You have to have visual aids, clarity and comprehension, time management, and conclusion. And for a persuasive speech, you need an introduction, a problem, there has to be a problem, the cause and effect, the solutions, benefits, you have to call to action and have a conclusion with a solution. That's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to come back whenever I have a speech and watch this again. And don't forget to leave down below a comment on which episode you like and what you would want me to post more. See you guys next time. Don't forget to like, comment down below, subscribe to my channel, and share. I love you guys so much. Bye.